So this is the dashboard I created just today. In fact, I've been using 2 days to create this, and it's not just about the fact that you have a data set and you're extracting insights from it, but this type of project you have to reorganize the structure of the template so that be able to extract the data. So there's a lot of data transformation going on in here, but this is a dashboard as you can see, and it is a dashboard on HSE Workplan, right? HSE Workplan Dashboard, and we are trying to basically look at how many action requirements are there in the data set, what is the action closure rate, what is the total action task. I'll show you why I call it action task, because within each action there are a lot of other options that you need to select from, and I'll be showing that in a bit. And for that reason, we're talking about action task. Okay, so what is the outstanding, how many of them have been completed, and how many of them are overdue. And then we have a trend of the completion rates, and then we have the task completion rate overall. Now this one is the action closure rate, this is the task completion rate, and this is the action by risk priority. This is the outstanding actions by category, the completed action. So this is supposed to be like completed action by category. I'll be checking that to make sure I put proper context to it. And then we have overdue actions within 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, and action status and all of that. Now this dashboard is sort of dynamic, and how dynamic it is based on the fact that there are two tables, there are two fact tables. These fact tables, you cannot connect them together, and for that reason we have these slices filtering basically the information in the middle here, and then you have this one also filtering the other visuals. So we have the bar chart, the donut chart, and all of these other ones. So these ones on the side are being filtered differently, and I'm going to explain to you why that is the case. Okay, so we head over to our data set. So this wasn't how it looked like. I mean, it was looking something similar to this, but I just have to clean up a little bit and then find a way of analyzing the data sets in a very strategic way. So basically, this is the main data set where we have the action requirement, the categories, the frequency, the action owners, the support, which is like a category, and we had to bring in a starting date to some extent for analysis that we're trying to do, and then the action completion rate, right? So that's pretty much what it is. And one thing you need to know is that whenever you have a data set and you have the column headers, so what it means is that you can summarize the values within the column to extract some insight. So you can either calculate the sum of the values in the column, the average of the values in the column, or the count of the parameters, which is qualitative data. How many times are they occurring within the column? However, when you have a data set that is structured this way in a form of a row, you cannot find the summary of values in a row. It's not possible. And for that reason, any other type of analysis that you do based on row context, you cannot just analyze it across. You need to find a way of transposing it. So this analysis that we're doing right here was basically trying to count how many actions are due in 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days based on the target date that has been set for the action, and then today function. And for that reason, today, which changes every single day towards the target date, then that's like a countdown. So the countdown will be based on the difference between the target date and then today. And then if the days are within 30 or 60 or 90 days, then we're going to be counting how many of these planned activities are within the column. All right, so that's pretty much what we did, counting days within 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. And then if today the date that we set happens to be overdue, in a sense that the target date is now a past date, then obviously get into overdue. So we're going to be counting how many of the planned activities are now overdue. All right, so that's pretty much what we did. This is a separate data set for analysis. This is a separate data set for analysis. Now this one is counting how many of the requirements, and that's a total of about 94. And for that reason, we can do all the analysis based on this set of data. And then again, within each of the requirements, there are a lot of actions that you're going to be taking. You can either plan, you can move, you can skip, you can say it's not applicable, or you can indicate as completed. So all of these action items, or should I say action task, and that is the reason why I came by the name action task. We need to count how many planned action tasks we have across the sheet. How many of them have been closed? How many of them have been skipped or moved or whatever? So you can see. So basically what we did was that initially the calendar wasn't like a normal calendar. It was just like January, February, all the way to December. So it was just about 12 columns that we had basically. But we needed to find a way of sort of changing it into a proper calendar table based on a predetermined starting date. So there's a list over here that they use to create a data validation for most of the columns. So we brought in the starting date where they can set a starting date of their calendar. So once they input a starting date, then automatically it's gonna populate starting from whatever they've set. So the starting date is 1st of November, and that's giving us the week number. So we managed to bring in the day of the week in there, the week number in there, and then every close action or close action item or close task is gonna count over here here. So each of the columns are now counting everything that's happening in here. So it means that with a data set like this, we can transpose it so that over here will be for maybe the percentage completion rate. Here will be the today function. This one itself will even be the dates. This one are all column headers once we transpose. So that's what we did. All right. So how do we come about that? Let's head over to Power Query and let's look at something. We click on edit and let's try to understand the apply steps. So we have the source data, we have the statistics, we have a date that we created from the statistics. Now, how do we go about it? In the source data, which is basically the name we give to the query, when we come to the source, you notice that when we loaded into the Power Query, this is how it was structured. All right. So when you move across the sheet, you're going to see that that's pretty much what it is in the sheet that you see. We had the section that had to do with the data that has been structured properly, and we had the ones at the top, which you use for the calculation. All right. So what did we do? We had to remove some of the top rows, and then we removed irrelevant columns and everything. And then it became a clean data like this. And then again, the statistics, we had to transpose it. So this is how it looked initially, similar to the source data, but however, the focus was on this section. So we removed all the irrelevant columns, we removed all the rows from the bottom, it was left with just this one, and we transposed it. So this is what happened initially, and then we transposed it and it became like this. And then we rename all the relevant columns that was relevant for decision making. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. We loaded it to the data model. We did all the calculations that were relevant. So when we go into the DAX measures, you're gonna see that we just did count rows, count of parameters, sum of some parameters, average of percentage and decimals and all of that. We put together this nice dashboard. So that's what I've been up to this week, this past 2 days, and that's what you can learn when you join our Data Academy. So do all to connect with us and be part of our Excel class that comes off next 2 days. Right. So on Monday. See you. Bye for now. Cheers.